Alright, so in this video we're going to be taking a look at how to evaluate expressions that are having rational exponents. So this is a good example here. We have 8 to the 2/3. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to do the root first. I know you could do the power first technically, like you see in this example. The root takes it down to a smaller number, makes it easier. So we're going to do the cube root of 8 first to get 2, and then square it to get 4. So I can do more examples of that. There's plenty of things, like if you have 16 to the 1/4 power, well, think about that. That's the 4th root of 16. So what would you multiply times itself 4 times to get 16? Well, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 16. So this would be 2. And if you ever forget what that is, you can always just, try 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, and you'll realize that's 81. So obviously 3's out. 2 would be the only possible answer, because 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 would be 1. And so if you ever see the root and you don't know which number, I'd recommend just try different numbers. See, usually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are going to work. The smaller numbers will usually work. So let's go ahead and take a look at this example. So notice right here that both are to the power of -4/3. So let's go ahead and rewrite that as 2/54 to the power of -4/3. Well, 2/54 would simplify to 1/27 to the power of -4/3. And I'm going to go ahead and take away that negative power by flipping this. So we'll have 27/1 to the 4/3. All right, so now that we got it down to that, well, the 1 to the 4/3 is just 1. So I'm not going to really worry about that one. I'm going to just focus on that 27 to the 4/3. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do the cube root of 27, and then I'll do it to the 4th power. Whatever I get there, I'll take to the 4th power. So let's go ahead and do the cube root first. So, well, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. You notice cube root, so we're multiplying it 3 times. 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9 times 3 is 27. And then 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. So obviously here we're going to be going with 3 times 3 times 3 because it's cube root of 27. And so cube root of 27 is 3. And as you do these more and more, you're just going to begin to just know which numbers to use. And then 3 to the 4th is 81, because 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81. So the answer to this one would be 81. All right, what are we going to do in this next example? So for this next example, we're going to go ahead and we're doing the 5th root. Now notice these are both the 5th root, so I can actually multiply the -16 times the 2, since they're both the 5th root, and we'll have the 5th root of -32. So what times itself 5 times is 32? Well, obviously not 1, because I would just give you 1, but 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32. Now, how do we get it to be -32? Now, normally you can't square root a negative, but if there's an odd index, you can go ahead and use a negative, because think about that. -2 times -2 is 4, times -2 is -8, times -2 is +16, times -2 is -32. Notice every even one became positive, but on the odd one, it's negative again. So this answer would actually be -2. Let's look at the next example. So here we have the cube root of 250 over the cube root of 2. Let me just rewrite that as to the 1/3 power over 2 to the 1/3. So wouldn't this be the same thing as 250 over 2 all to the 1/3 power? And so from there, that would be 125 to the 1/3. In other words, the cube root of 125, which is 5. So that one's not too difficult. All right, our last one. Notice we have the same base here. So all we have to do is subtract the exponent. So we'll have 125 to the -11 over 12 minus -1 over 4. Now we got to get a common denominator for that. So that's 125 to the -11 over 12 plus 3 over 12. And that's going to be 125 to the -9 over 12. I'm going to simplify that. I don't really want to take a 12th root to the 9th power. So if you were to simplify that fraction, that would be 125 to the negative 3 over 4. So let me just double check that real quick. Negative 11 plus 3. I did make a mistake. I was thinking I looked a little bit off. Negative 11 plus 3 would be negative 8 over 12. And then take a 4 from both of those, and you would have 2 over 3. That makes a lot more sense. So then the negative exponent means we take it to the bottom. We're going to go ahead and do the cube root of the 25 first, or the 125, and then raise that to the second power. Cube root of 125. Well, think about that. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. Let me write that over here. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. Still not there. 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. And then 5 times 5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. Times 5 is 125. Bingo, there we are. So we will have 1 over 5 squared, which is 1 over 25. I know it's a lot of examples in one video, but just got to work through all those previous rules we were doing and just go ahead and evaluate them just like you saw in this.